Welcome back to part 2 of our live training session here with our turbocharged BMW M3 running on an EMU Black standalone system. In the last video, we created our base map. This video, we're going to be focusing our attention to get the engine up and running on our EMU Black. We're going to have to go and deal with our idle control and making sure that the fuel and spark timing and variable cam are dealt with at idle so the engine can start, run, and idle on its own, and we can move into our next few training videos taking a look at the driving and wide open throttle operation of our engine. We're gonna have a lot to cover within this video, so let's jump into our live training session so we can get started. Welcome back to our live training session here with our turbocharged BMW M3. In our last video, we went over the plug and play base file that was supplied for this particular vehicle for the patch harness that was running to plug into an EMU Black. Now we changed some things. This video, we're going to get the engine fired up and running and start the calibration process. We need to go over some details here before we do that though. So let's jump into our software. I'm going to cover a few things and we'll get the engine fired up and running and deal with the idle control, deal with the cranking fuel, deal with the post-start enrichment and all the details that are associated with that. So what we're going to do right now is go from our setup, go into basic here, and let's talk about some of our basic key details. Always want to check before you fire up your engine so you have reasonable starting values, and we're not going to find your calibration process is going to be thrown all off because you haven't checked the basic details. So what we're going to do is move down here into our basics page. Now right now I have my laptop connected to my EMU Black. I have the key on, the engine off, so we can see looking down here in our basics page. We are in the connected state between our EMU Black and my laptop, and we're going to find the engine is going to be showing 0 RPM because it's not running. Taking a look down our list, we need to make sure we have our basic sensors accounted for. So that's our throttle position, map pressure, coolant temp, air temp. Those are always some of the basic core parameters, inputs that we have to have set up right, or we're not going to get proper results under tuning. So we need to make sure this is out of the way first. Let's check these out. Moving down our list, we see baro is in our list. We're not using a baro pressure sensor. We don't have one set up on this particular car, but we do have our map pressure. So key on, engine off. Our map pressure should be approximately 100 kPa at sea level, and I'm almost at sea level at my elevation here. I'm a couple hundred feet above sea level, but it's close enough. So we're finding right now my map pressure showing 100 kPa. So I'm fine with that. We've set a built-in map offset right now to -4. That's fine. If I had my baro pressure actually functioning and working, I would set my map pressure to whatever my baro pressure was actually reading, but in this case we don't know that, and we're pretty much at sea level, so 100 kPa is fine. Key on, engine off. Now, throttle position. This is alpha N, and we have accel pedal position, and we have our throttle position sensor at the engine. So right now, we're going to be taking a look and making sure that our throttle position is registering properly. So if I'm off the throttle all the way, that's at 0. If I'm on the throttle all the way, that's at 100. We've set our min and max scale using our TPS voltage channel here within our window here. So 0.67 volts is what we see on lift throttle, all the way off the throttle. All the way on the throttle here, 100% throttle, 3.86, we're seeing 3.86. So we're seeing between 0 to 100% right now as our range of movement. Looks good. Taking a look at our air temp and our coolant temp, these should be approximate to ambient conditions. So right now in my dyno bay, I'm about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And these are showing 40 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Celsius. Now, I did have this running a little bit ago just to make sure that everything was 100% before we started filming in this video, so the engine got some heat into it. Now, if you're used to working with units of Fahrenheit, we actually can change this. If we go to Tools, and you go into your configuration, we can go to Units and change this into Imperial. You can see it's going to show experimental by. If I click OK, notice my values now are showing 105 degrees Fahrenheit and 179 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're seeing the pressure here is showing 14.5. These units aren't correct. They're not kPa or Celsius. It's actually Fahrenheit, and that's going to be units of PSI for reference sake. So just something to keep in mind if you want to just reference that and you're not familiar with these units of Celsius. If you're here from the US, chances are you're not going to be working in units of Celsius or units of kPa. Now, I do want to mention here the air temp and the coolant temp on a cold engine that hasn't ran for at least 24 hours should be basically the same, and they should represent what your ambient temperature is. So if my ambient temperature was 70, I'd want to see that both sensors are showing about 70. Key on, engine off, for reference sake. Right now I can't really check that. I'm going to assume they're okay. I'm going to assume they're valid. Again, my temperature in my dyno bay is about 70. The intake air temperature is mounted on the intake manifold. Plenum on this, and it is hot. It was running, so that's why it's showing a hot temperature here. So that looks fine. Let me go back and change this
into configuration here. Let me go back and change this in.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.